Hello. So it's been a little while since I've made a proper video. I'm supposed to be making a bunch of videos throughout 2023, but it turns out that I took a little bit of a hiatus from making videos most of last year, with the exception of, I think, one, maybe two videos. I'm going to try to do better this year, but remember, this channel isn't a for-profit channel. It's not how I make my living. It's not even how I make any extra money. This is just something I do for fun here or there. That said, I wanted to talk a little bit about physical media today, and I wanted to talk about whether or not physical media is dying. And I actually had planned to shoot videos last year about various video formats, because I'd sort of tackled audio a little bit in 2022, and so I wanted to kind of jump on video for 2023, but since last year was what it is, I'm going to try to do that this year. And I figured I would start with talking about physical media in general and sort of the state of physical media and where we find ourselves, because a lot of people are under this assumption that physical media is dying, and I don't believe that myself, but it is in a way. So a little confusing, and I kind of want to explain my perspective on this, both as a consumer who enjoys collecting physical media, but also as somebody who's made indie films, like little shoestring budget films, and what my sort of take is on physical media, like releasing movies on physical media on a very small scale, because I don't know the bigger scale, like the big Hollywood studios or even some of the boutique distributors out there who are doing older films and stuff. But I do know it on a shoestring budget level, where I've done it myself. So I wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit. So I want to first start, though, with sort of the overall atmosphere that we find ourselves in, because things have certainly changed over the last 20 years, and especially over the last 10 to 15 years since streaming video has hit the market. Netflix and Amazon Prime, and now you've got everybody and their brother who seems to have a streaming service. And so there's a lot of content out there. There's almost too much content out there when you count up all of these free video streaming services that you can get on, Roku and all these other smart TVs. And you think about all of this stuff that's out there that's just free with commercials or whatever, and it's plus YouTube. We've got way too much choice in a way. Back in the old days with physical media, you were kind of limited in a lot of ways to what your local stores, video stores, rental stores, or actual sales stores sold. And maybe you could order certain things online or mail order or whatever, and that was fine, but most people weren't going to go out of their way and do that. So you tended to have a much more curated selection of what was available to you. You might hit up a more independent video store that might carry some more niche kind of cult titles. We had one of those kind of video stores around us, which was pretty cool, and we'd go there every once in a while to check out what they had. But even then, not every city necessarily had that. Physical media lately has gone through this transition where it's become sort of not important to pop culture anymore. Your average person doesn't really care that much. They just want to see the movie or hear the music. And if that means, and they want to do it the easiest way possible. Like I always say, never underestimate the power of human laziness, because if you've got a product that's higher quality and you've got one that's more convenient, 9 times out of 10 people are going to choose the one that is more convenient over the one that's higher quality, unless they can get both. And so in this case, and we saw this with the MP3 versus the DVD audio and SACD back in the turn of the millennium, where these companies thought, hey, we're going to come out with the next best thing compared to CD, and it's going to sell like hotcakes, and suddenly it was completely undermined by the whole MP3 Napster revolution going on, and then eventually iTunes selling music and all that. So, you know, MP3 not as good as even regular CD, let alone an SACD or, you know, a DVD audio. So, you know, look what happened. It's about convenience. And so the same thing is happening right now with media. Is people can get on their TVs, they can get on their Roku boxes, their Apple, you know, TVs, their Fire Sticks, whatever, Google TV, and they can, you know, get on some service that they either pay for or they get for free, and they can just watch whatever, you know, pretty much whatever they want, or at least what they think they want, because everything is not available. But there's enough selection, like I said, an overbearing amount of selection just there that they feel like they have enough. Even if maybe their favorite movie or their favorite TV show isn't available, which is where physical media can still play a role. But that's the mainstream. That's not everybody. The mainstream doesn't so much care about collecting. They don't care about the packaging. They don't care about the disc. They don't care about the higher quality of the audio or video. They don't care about necessarily even the bonus features, you know, behind the scenes stuff, all of that. They just want to see the movie or hear the song, whatever the case may be. And so for them, they don't need to live in a physical media world anymore. Because in the 1980s, 90s, and the early aughts, or even before all that, in the 70s and so on, all you had was physical media. If you wanted to see what you wanted to see when you wanted to see it, you had physical media. Otherwise, you had to hit up a movie theater, first run, second run, or you had to wait for it to come on, you know, broadcast TV, cable TV, satellite, something like that. All of these things, you know, had a certain window of time where you could see them. If you wanted it sort of on demand, you had to go out and physically buy or rent the actual physical item itself. Today, that's not a thing. Today we have the internet. We have high-speed internet. We have 4K video streaming over, you know, even YouTube. Actually, we have 8K streaming over YouTube if you want it. So, you know, is it the highest quality? No, even if it's higher resolution. But it's good enough for most people most of the time, and that's all that really matters. Even for myself, to be honest, I watch most of what I watch through streaming. I tend to watch a lot of YouTube. I like YouTube a lot. I like a lot of these small videos about whatever. So I watch a lot of YouTube, but I also watch a lot of streaming off of different streaming services as well. You know, Apple TV's got a lot of quality stuff out there, even if it's not a lot of stuff. Their Apple TV Plus service. Amazon's got a few things, you know, like everybody's got a few things, and it's like you subscribe to those services and you watch them there, and you may not pick up the physical disc or whatever. Or you may if you really like it. And so that's kind of where my physical collecting has gone. I've gotten to a point where I don't usually pick up the physical disc unless I really like it. I know I'm going to watch it several times and I want to own the highest quality, or I want to own the sort of special packaging and all that, because I am somebody that cares about the packaging. Not everybody who's into physical media even cares about that. They're just more about the quality and actually owning the content and not, you know, being worried about whether or not it's going to disappear or change, because that can happen as well. You know, we've gotten to a point now where certain content is being pulled from services or changed in some way, you know, like they'll change out a certain scene or they'll change the color grade or something like that. And so you're not seeing the exact same content that you are expecting to see necessarily, depending on what it is. So that's sort of my take on it from sort of an overview, is that we're seeing sort of the demise of physical media as a pop culture thing, at least when it comes to certain demographics. That said, DVD sales still outsell Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray today. I don't know this for a fact, but I suspect that the reason DVD sales are still going strong, at least in the physical media world, which is not as much as streaming, is the fact that there are a lot of people who just aren't that tech savvy still in the world. This surprises me, even younger people that aren't that tech savvy, but especially older people. And I know this because we just bought, my girlfriend's mom a Roku for Christmas, and she had like a 32-inch TV. It wasn't a smart TV. She had a Blu-ray player and was playing DVDs and Blu-rays, didn't matter what to her, but she was still playing discs or watching regular broadcast television. And she was born in the late 50s, so she's, you know, older but not like extremely old. So there's a lot of people like her, a lot of people that just, they're not very tech savvy and have just kept buying discs, and it doesn't matter if it's a Blu-ray, a 4K Blu-ray, a DVD, it doesn't really matter. It's so long as they get the content and get the content the way they've been getting the content for all these decades, which is on a disc. So there's a lot of people like that. And there's even younger people. I've seen younger collectors out there who are out there buying DVDs, and I'm thinking to myself, why are you buying DVDs? We've got Blu-rays, we've got 4K Blu-rays. These things are obviously superior in quality. Why would you waste your time watching a DVD? That's me, of course. And they don't care. They don't care, they don't see it, whatever. So that's fine. You know, if it makes them happy, that's all that really matters. And honestly, I dog on DVD maybe more than I should. It's a fine format. In fact, I was happy with it myself for many years, and I'm going to go more into specifics about that when I make my actual DVD video, dedicated video. But, you know, as a format, it was a perfectly fine format, and I was fine with it for a good 15 years. I got into it in '98. My first DVD player was a creative DVD-ROM that I built into a PC that I built back in 1998. And I used to drag that thing in the living room and hook it up to my TV and watch DVDs, and I was thrilled. I was thrilled. The quality was so much better than VHS. But that leads me to the other thing about physical media, which is the fact that every format throughout time has sort of lost the amount of titles available to it to some degree or another. You know, you start with film. You've got, you know, actual film on film strips, 35, 16, 8, you know, all of those different formats. And you had a lot of stuff released on those formats. Maybe not feature films always for the general public, but you had a lot of stuff that was on that format that had never made its way to, you know, a newer format. And VHS, the same there. You had a lot of stuff released on VHS that never found its way to DVD when we got to DVD, and then so on to Blu-ray and 4K. And so every format we're getting a little bit less content on it. Although DVD was quite a big, that was quite a popular format and continues to be. So it's become sort of the default format, I think, because all of the newer players can still play DVDs. And it's cheap to make DVDs, so I think it's become sort of the new standard default. And so there's been a lot of content, but there's still content that you know, was released on VHS or film that never made its way into DVD. So there you go. So there's that as well. So there's certain things that you do have to go back to older physical medias to find, and then there are certain things that never made it, or might have made it onto DVD but never onto Blu-ray, but have gone, you know, jumped a step and have made it to some kind of streaming service or digital broadcasting in high definition even. And so that's always kind of interesting. So it's a matter of, you know, what you can find and where sometimes, and sometimes physical is the only place to find it, and other times the only place you can find it is actually on some kind of streaming or broadcast service. So it's kind of a hodgepodge going on. The other thing about physical is it's expensive. It's expensive to make a release on physical and put it out there. And that's something that has to be considered, especially when it comes to, you know, are you going to make your money back? Are you going to sell? And this is something I face myself when I do well, right now, let me get into that, I guess. Because right now I'm working on a remaster of my 2005 feature film, Falling Apart. And this was my first and only feature film that I've made. I've made one feature film, and I've made, I don't even know how many short films, right? And it was a shoestring budget film. We made it for only a few $1,000s or whatever back in 2003, which is when we shot it, and did all the post over 2004, and when we released it in 2005. And we did a premiere at a local art house movie theater, and then we sold a limited run of DVDs back then. And now what I've decided to do is I've never been happy with the quality of that DVD. There was a lot of mistakes I made in the production, in the initial editing of that film. I was working on some older software, older computers, and I had limited hard drive space, and I had to go back out to DV tape because we shot the movie on DV tape in standard definition, 60 fields per second interlaced video. So we weren't starting with the best quality to begin with. And I've wanted to try and do my best to sort of update the movie for the modern era and sort of kind of do a bit of a redo on it. See, you know, I've learned a whole lot working in the video industry over the last 20 years or so. I've learned a whole lot, and I wanted to see if I could sort of do a better edit of it these days. So I've been working on a 20th anniversary re-edit and remaster where I'm trying to upscale it to high definition, 1080p, even though it was shot in standard definition, just to try and bring out some of the details that maybe you didn't see in the original standard definition release, but also just to make it more compatible with modern TV and modern TVs that are, you know, 4K, high def, all that. And it was shot in widescreen, so we at least got that. And you can see it behind me in my project file here on my desktop. The thing is, though, I wanted to do a Blu-ray release of this, and I wanted to do a proper Blu-ray release, one that is, you know, a replicated pressed disc in a factory, so that it'll last a long time, something nice and proper, you know, not because my original release, and I'm gonna get this out here, my original release of the film on DVD was done using burned discs, which is fine, and surprisingly, this was released in 2005. Surprisingly, the discs have held up, or at least mine has. I can't say that for sure about everybody else, because it's hit or miss when it comes to burned media as to whether or not the disc will actually hold up for, you know, more than a couple of years. And so it's been, what, 19 years, almost 18, 19 years now, and it's still playable. So what I did with this, when I made this, because we were so limited on budget, was I actually got printable discs, and I bought a disc printer, like a Epson, you know, printer, the inkjet printer that could print on discs. And I actually made the discs myself, and I printed on them. And I only did it in black and white, just to save on ink and complications. And then the actual sleeves for the DVD themselves I had professionally made at one of these disc factories that actually make and print all this, you know, disc type stuff. So I had it professionally printed at one of those factories and got a stack of those, and then I bought a bunch of empty boxes, and I just sort of assembled everything together and sold those in a limited supply. I think maybe about 75 total or whatever that we put out there. I think it was a total of about 75, yeah. And then we gave a copy to everybody who's in the film as well. So that's the DVD. The problem with the DVD, the biggest problem with the DVD, for whatever reason, is that when I made it, it was shot in widescreen, and for whatever reason, it's not an anamorphic DVD. I did not master it as an anamorphic DVD. So it's, you know, when you watch it on a modern widescreen television, you've got the black pillar boxes on the side, and you've got the letterbox on the top and bottom, so you're looking at this small little window in the middle, and you have to zoom in on your TV, and then it makes it look worse, and it's terrible. The high-def remaster I've been working on is way better. It looks way better, and I've been able to cut certain scenes a little bit differently as well. And I've been a little hesitant about whether or not I should even do a remaster at all, because 3 of the people that were in the film are unfortunately no longer with us. Within the last 20 years, they've passed away, and so they'll never really get to see the remaster of this film. And so I felt a little guilty about even doing that. But I thought to myself, you know what? it is what it is, though, and I want to put out a better quality, and I just can't cut the exact same film as I did before. It's just, I know too much now. I can't do it. I can't do an exact, cut for cut. I have with certain scenes, but with most, I can't do an exact, cut for cut redo of the same film. So certain things are a little different, and that's just how it is. And I want to put out a better quality version. Not even necessarily for the public, because honestly, it's not a very good movie. We had a lot of fun making it, and everybody was great. Everybody stuck around. I met a lot of great people, and so I had a ball making it. It's one of those life experiences I'll always remember and I'll always cherish. But in the end, it's not a very good film, and I think that if you don't have any connection to the movie itself, and you see it, you're probably going to go, oh yeah, okay, so it's a horror movie, but there's not really any real horror in it. There's no real action. It's mostly talking heads. There's no real gore or anything like that. Like nothing that you'd expect from a typical horror movie, which is weird because I like horror movies, but I'm not actually big on gore myself. I'm actually more of a fan of science fiction, but I've never made a science fiction movie, surprisingly. Mostly made comedies and horror movies. Horror is a great genre. It's fun, but I'm not big on gore, personally. So it doesn't have a lot of gore in it. It doesn't have really any gore in it. And it doesn't have a whole lot of action. And that's one of the things, though, that I wish it did. That's me as a filmmaker. Like, even sitting in the movie theater, watching it during the premiere at the back of the theater, we were sitting on the floor, me and my producer and my cinematographer, and I'm cringing. I'm going, oh man, I wish we should have done this, we should have done that, we should have put more action in it. Even today I feel that way. We should put more action into it. And so I get where guys like George Lucas come back and say, oh yeah, let's remaster Star Wars for the 11th time, because the old saying is, a movie's never done, it's only abandoned, and that's true. And in the age of digital releasing, you can do that. You can go back and you can re-release it again and again as you improve it. So as a filmmaker, it's sort of what you want, because you want people to see the version that you like the best yourself as a filmmaker. As a film fan, you want to see the movie that you originally fell in love with. So I get it. I get both perspectives, and I'm torn on that. So I can see the benefit to both. But I also, as a filmmaker and a film fan, I love the physical format because I love the actual physical disc. I love the packaging of, not just the exterior packaging, but the packaging of all the content in one place. The fact that you can put the movie, the bonus features, all of it on one disc, nicely packaged together. I can't quite figure out how to do that online without having links to a bunch of separate videos. It's not quite the same as having it all in one place. So there's that. But speaking of making discs, releasing a Blu-ray just isn't financially feasible for me. Again, this was a movie that we'd shot for a few $1,000s. We had originally sold maybe 75 copies or so. We'd only limited it to about 75 to 100 copies to begin with. So it isn't like we put it out there and nobody wanted to buy it. We actually sold everything that we wanted to sell at the time. But I didn't make a whole lot at the time. I did a limited release because I was doing it all by hand myself. Didn't do, aside from, like I said, the slipcover, I hadn't done anything in a factory. I was I was burning the discs myself, I was printing them myself, and it was a lot to go through. This time I wanted to do something a little more special and make an actual replicated disc. But I would have to order at least 1,000 of them. And for Blu-ray, we're talking at least about $4,000. And that's not 4K Blu-ray, that's just regular HD Blu-ray. And that's just, that's the disc and the packaging, but it's a lot out of pocket for somebody like me, and I'm not going to sell 1,000 copies of this movie. I know I'm not. At best, I'll probably sell 100, maybe. And that's assuming I give a copy to everybody who was also in the movie as well. So that's part of that 100 that I'm thinking. So it's really not viable to me. I mean, that's about $4 a disc. That's not really viable to me as an indie filmmaker, as a shoestring budget indie filmmaker. not one of these bigger, indie films that are millions of dollars kind of. But even those guys, I mean, even the big studios and the boutique distributors, they all have to account for whether they're going to make their money back. It doesn't matter how much they have in the bank themselves. They could be, billion-dollar companies. In the end of the day, it still comes down to the same, capitalistic kind of groundwork, which is, am I going to see a return on my money for what I'm investing into it? And how soon will I see that return? And I don't think that that's going to happen, at least with this film. Now, DVD is cheaper. I think it's about a quarter of the cost to go to DVD versus Blu-ray, and for an actual factory replicated disc. And it makes sense in the case of this film as well, because it was only shot in standard definition. So even if I remaster it in high definition and I put it out on DVD, I'll still have a better quality on DVD. And I'll still have that package and all of that. The question then becomes, though, does anybody really want a DVD? I mean, collectors who are out there, some of them still collect DVDs. A lot of them, no, they want Blu-ray, they want 4K. And a lot of the people who are buying DVDs out there, again, they're older folks who, they just want to see the movie, and they're probably not into shoestring budget indie films, like horror films. So they probably don't want to see it on DVD or buy that DVD anyway, or even they're not tech savvy enough to find where I'm selling it online or whatever. So that's probably not going to happen either. And I don't have any kind of distribution deal with anybody to put the DVD out there in stores, so that's probably not going to happen either. So even then, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do a replicated disc. So I'm back down to basically the old method, where I can get burned discs for cheaper, Blu-ray or DVD, and I can print them myself, and then all of that like I did originally. And I can do that, and I may do that. But then I'm still faced with this dilemma where I think to myself, okay, well, I'm not really looking to sell this to the general public because, again, it's not a great film, and I don't want anybody coming back going, hey, Mike, this movie sucks. Like, can I get my money back? I'm not really interested in all that. If I can put it out there online somewhere for somebody to watch, and they say that, okay, they haven't wasted any money. They don't care. It's free. It's like you can complain, but you're complaining, over something you didn't pay for. So, however, if I put a disc out there, which I like to do, because again, I like putting everything in one package, can anybody play it? Especially like, I had polled some of my friends. I said, how many of you have Blu-ray players? How many of you still have DVD players? And some of them do, but not a lot. A lot of people are just, they don't care about that anymore. They might have one somewhere, like maybe on their TV connected in their basement. Maybe they've got one, in a box somewhere, whatever. How often are they pulling discs out and putting them in to watch them? So in general, it doesn't benefit me a whole ton to put out a physical media release for my little shoestring budget feature film. Realistically, I may still do it just because I personally want to do it and I like physical media, but it doesn't make a lot of financial sense to do it. So that's kind of where it is, and so it makes me, take that perspective as a shoestring budget filmmaker and put it onto some of these distributors and go, okay, I see what the issue is. I see why they're not putting this movie out or whatever. They'll release all the newest releases on physical media, on 4K Blu-ray, and on regular Blu-ray, and on DVD. They'll release those movies because they're big budget superhero movies. They made a lot of money at the movie theater. They want to make as much as they can off of physical media release before and streaming and all that. So they'll just kind of blanket the whole thing, a shotgun approach, spread it all out and see where they can make money, because it's a hot commodity right now. But when it's an older title, something that nobody's really looking for or cares about, except for maybe a few people who are into certain cult classic films or whatever, that's a harder sell. And so I can see why it is that we're not getting certain releases on disc anymore, or why we're only getting them on cheaper formats like DVD versus Blu-ray, and especially compared to 4K Blu-ray. I didn't even price out what it cost to make a 4K Blu-ray because I wasn't even going to go that far with this upscale. Anyway, that's kind of where it's at. So again, the question is physical media dead? No, and I don't think it's going to die. I mean, if anything, vinyl is a perfect example of physical media sticking around. I mean, that was a format that was virtually dead for 20 years and then sort of came back to life in the, depending on where you live, the 2010s. And if I had a time machine telephone and could call myself, past me up in 1991 and say, hey, Mike, did you know that in the 2010s you're going to be collecting vinyl records? I would have probably hung up that phone and said, that guy's crazy. What's he talking about? I need to go see a doctor because something is obviously going to happen to me in the future where I lose my mind. And yet, that's exactly what happened. In the 2010s, I started collecting vinyl records, LPs. Why? I don't know, I just thought it was kind of fun. Actually, I inherited my folks' old collection of 45s and I needed a way to play it, so I picked up a used turntable, and from there I was like, I'll pick up a couple of used LPs and a brand new, Tool album on LP, and I'll see what all the hype is about. And from there I started getting LPs as gifts, and I bought a few myself, and now I've got a small collection, about 25, 30 of them. Not a lot, but again, if you'd talked to 1991 me when I first started collecting CDs, and at the time had a very small collection of cassettes as well, I would have said I was crazy, because CDs are the future. I mean, these things are like something out of a sci-fi movie, these shiny little discs that you read with a laser with perfect sound quality. Why wouldn't that be the future? And it still is. We still have CDs. CDs still sell. I still love CDs. I still buy them every once in a while. And that's great. But vinyl, what was it, 2019, vinyl outsold CDs or something like that? I mean, who would have thought that, right? And yet vinyl's sticking around. You got it in Target stores, you got it in Walmart stores, you got it in Best Buy stores. I would have never thought they'd be selling vinyl records in the 2020s, 2010s, in those big box retailers. So there you go. So we're losing, maybe Blu-rays or DVDs or whatever in certain stores. They may make a comeback 10, 20 years from now. Who knows? Or we may still see, the bigger superhero type new releases still being carried on, end caps in those stores. But they just don't have the library of back catalog films that they used to carry. And why should they? You can buy those online, and most people are not walking in looking to buy physical media anymore. And shelf space, retail space, physical space, it's expensive. So why stock something that's not going to sell to most people? Makes sense, right? So there we go. It's shifting. It's shifting to online. And as far as these companies not making the movies, well, we already sort of covered that. It depends on if they're going to make a return on their investment. We've seen smaller, what they call, boutique distributors enter the market. Companies like Criterion and, Shout Factory, Scream Factory, Vinegar Syndrome, guys like that, companies like that. And it's great because they're picking up the slack. They're releasing movies that are a little bit more classic-y type films, and they're doing it in some nice packaging and some nice ways, and it's great that they're doing that. Because we're almost getting a better experience that way, because you're getting it from people who love cinema. And they love all those details. And so you're getting what may or may not be a more expensive piece in the end, but you're getting something that's made with more love and something that's made with, more detail. And it's not just, a cheap little flimsy recyclable Blu-ray box, with the holes cut in the middle. I hate those things. It blows my mind. Do I have a Blu-ray case here? I do. I've got one. I want to cover this real quick. This is actually probably a nicer Blu-ray. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's got the lenticular front, but I don't think that this one has it. But I'm going to use this as a demonstration. Let me see here. It may or may no, this one doesn't have it. But a lot of these cases right here, you've got the big recycle symbol that's cut out here. Blows my mind. They'll waste the plastic to make this forehead, this completely useless Blu-ray, where it says Blu-ray across the top. They'll make this completely useless piece of plastic up here that just says Blu-ray on it, and they'll waste the plastic on that, but then they'll cut the plastic out that goes around the disc that's designed to protect the disc. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't really care for the Blu-ray packaging itself, the default box. I prefer I like the blue, and I like the transparent blue color. I prefer like the PlayStation 4 boxes where the actual artwork comes all the way to the top, so it's actually usable space and doesn't just have this, plastic forehead that does nothing but say Blu-ray on it or Blu-ray 3D on it. Anyway, the point is these companies, and a lot of those companies are putting them out in nicer boxes too, and they're putting them out in like maybe some nicely designed cardboard boxes, or even like Criterion Collection, they're putting them out in the clear boxes with the artwork that does go to the top. So again, a little more care put into those releases, and so in a lot of ways it's better to be a collector now than it was years ago when you were just getting the cheap mass market. Well, we're just going to throw the disc out there with a few bonus features or whatever in a cheap case, just because they know that most people don't care about the packaging or any of that. They just want to see the movie. And those people are now going online to see the movie. So they're going on the streaming services. Hey, cool. You know what? That makes the physical media market a lot more specific to collectors at that point. The only thing we're not getting where physical media is dying is with all of the sort of general release stuff that is now going online that would have come to physical media before. For example, back in the day, like the 80s, you used to get like VHS tapes, like workout tapes. A lot of people are going to YouTube for that kind of stuff these days. They don't need to release it on VHS or DVD anymore, right? And that's fine. I don't need to collect those kind of things on VHS or DVD. So that's okay. I can go to YouTube for that. I can go to some fitness app or whatever for that. I don't need that on physical media. It's stuff like that we're losing out on, and that's what's shrinking the overall catalog of physical media in general, is all those smaller kind of little documentaries or little workout videos or cooking videos or whatever. You're not getting as much of those. At least I don't think you are. I haven't been seeing as much of that kind of stuff because a lot of it's going online. So instead what you're getting is what's really popular right now, and then you're getting some back catalog stuff from some still from major distributors, but a lot from these more boutique type distributors, and again a little more care and love put into those. So I don't think we're really missing out on a whole lot, and I think the physical media will be around for a long time because there's always going to want to be people that want to collect things, and there's always going to want to be people that want to own the movie if they can. The bigger question is how long will they continue to release, newer movies on physical media? And that's a question that's going to be a question mark. I think that so long as there is money to be made, so long as some people are buying them, the newer movies will continue to be put out there, even if it's only in, sort of limited releases or whatever. And there will still continue to be boutiques type distributors that go, hey, there's a market for this. And so long as there's a market, so long as there's money to be made, why leave that cash on the table? Why not grab it if you can? So I think that's where we stand for physical media right now. We'll see what the future holds. But I'm generally optimistic because I think we're in a good place right now, and I think that a lot of people like to sell outrage online. They like to cry wolf, or say the sky is falling or whatever. We see a lot of that happening online. There's a lot of money to be made with people, being outraged about things. But I think if you actually look at the scenario in general, it's not as bad. You just have to look at it reasonably, like where does it make sense and where doesn't it make sense. For me personally, it probably doesn't make sense because I don't have a big enough audience of people who are interested in seeing my little feature film from 2005 to merit putting it out on physical media. And I'm not even sure I really want to sell it to the public in general on physical media. But at the same time, if it did have a bigger draw and there was money to be made, sure, you know. Again, why leave the money on the table if it's there, right? So it just depends if it makes sense or not. And, you know, but that's okay because we can still get the content. We still have access to more content than we ever have in the past. And that's not even to mention the fact that people, you know, the people have so many other avenues of entertainment these days. Like I mentioned YouTube, then there's video games. You know, video games are not like they were 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You know, back when people were buying and renting movies on VHS or DVD. You know, I mean, they're like playable movies themselves. And then there's the internet and social media, and you know, people spending loads of time arguing with people online over whatever. People have found other ways to entertain themselves. It's not just, you know, books and movies on physical media anymore, you know, going out bowling or something. It's, you know, they have other digital methods these days in their homes to entertain themselves. So movies are competing, and especially physical media is competing more and more with a variety of different things. And so we have to take all of that into consideration as well. And yet it's still holding on. It's still there. People are still buying it. People are still collecting it. And I think we're seeing a little more love for it these days than maybe we would have seen in the past, just because people are, you know, grouping themselves around that campfire more. They're finding themselves online, the physical media collectors, and they're getting together and they're like, you know, hey, you know, they're finding their tribe, so to speak. And so that ultimately probably makes for a better experience overall. So anyway, that's what I got on that topic. Like I said, I plan to dive in more. I know this has been a long one. I plan to dive in more on actual different formats themselves, DVD, Blu-ray, VHS even, just the different video formats in general. I got a rough cut of my feature film here from 2003 actually, because this is a VCD, video CD. I used to burn off video CDs as tests when I was doing my edit. That's how old, that's how long it's been since I've done that, the initial edit of that film. So yeah, I didn't even get into all that. I didn't get into like all the niceness about physical media, like these steelbook cases and stuff. I kind of love these steelbooks, but I also I love them, but I don't love, I don't know. I'll get into all that in the different format videos that I plan to cover, hopefully this year. We'll see how things go because, again, I said that last year that I was going to get into all that, and I didn't. So hopefully this year I'll find a little more time to make these videos because I do enjoy making them. And I actually shoot quite a few videos, a lot that I just never even put out on YouTube. I never release just because I'm not super satisfied with them. I do them in my car or whatever, and I always feel like those are lower quality or lower production effort. And I'd like to try to put a little bit more production effort in, but I don't always have the B-roll to cut to, or I don't always want to set everything up and do it this way. So a lot of times I'll just get my phone out and do it in my car. That way I've got the nice even lighting and I've got the nice sound dampening and can kind of do it in privacy a bit. But those don't make for super interesting videos. Then again, this isn't that far off from that. So at least I've got some lights set up and all that, but still. Anyway, until next time, which hopefully won't be too far from now, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate everybody who takes the time to watch this, and I'll see you next time. Later.